All right. Welcome everyone. I think we're going to get started here. Thank you guys very much for joining our webinar here. I'm Joe Brinkman with Universal Connectivity. We're gonna introduce and discuss a little bit about our business call analytics platform, iCall suite, with our partners from Tollring. I will do everything I can to make sure we keep this to a 30-minute webinar and be respectful of everybody's time. I know everybody's got busy days, and we also wanted to make sure there's okay. Also wanted to make sure that we have time for some Q&A as well. So let me just share my screen and get us here going. All right. Great. So I just want to start off by really giving you kind of a quick intro to Universal Connectivity, who we are and why we do what we do. It really starts with our vision, and we really believe that every business deserves to be better connected. Simple, straight to the point. That leads into our mission to enhance our clients' growth and competitiveness with forward-thinking, scalable communication systems. Our niche is delivering the best communication systems and tools to growing mid-market companies. And that's one of the tools that we're going to go over today, iCall Suite. But it's all held together by our four core values. And we lead with human touch. We are real people who respond to the immediacy of your needs. We're happy. Happiness is number two. We're happy with what we do, and it shows. Thoroughness is the next one. From start to finish, no loose ends. We listen and understand our client's business. Accurate documentation means accurate management. And the fourth one, pragmatic creativity. Our clients' needs truly do dictate the solution that we're going to bring to you. So it really depends on every business and their specific needs, and we're tuned into that, and we want to make sure that we come off as customer obsessed. So I'll go through a quick agenda of what we're going to go through. We'll meet our partners from Tollring, and they'll take you through a product demo of our call analytics platform, iCall Suite. We'll have a couple minutes for Q&A, and if you do have any questions, please, you can just add them to the chat, and we'll get to them in the Q&A section. And then just next steps, where to go from here, and where to move forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott Ellis with Tollring, and he's going to show you the iCall Suite product.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Ah, that's good. I'm obviously still trying to get used to Zoom rather than the Teams and the WebEx we use a lot here. But yeah, thanks for that kind introduction, Joe. I'm not going to actually be doing a lot of the work myself. I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Lee Jones. He's a product evangelist at Tollring. So he's really going to just sort of take the next sort of 15, 20 minutes sort of to go through iCall Suite. What we're going to show you is actually the product in its full entirety. We want to show you all of the sort of the bells and whistles of the product, and then really as maybe one of the sort of next steps, you know, if there is an interest in this, Joe, with your partners and the customers online here, you know, we can talk about how we then, you know, look at the sort of subscriptions that are available in terms of the product and sort of based on what you want to see out of the product. So as I say, we want to show you the whole product. It would normally take about an hour to do so. We're going to try and get this in 15 minutes. We're going to focus on some key areas and some of the stats. So if I can and pass you across to my colleague Lee, that'd be really great. Lee, are you there?
Yeah, hi guys, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, good stuff. So yeah, I'm just going to go through the demo then, as we mentioned. Joe, I think you might have to unshare your screen for it to allow me to hijack it, basically. So let me start sharing. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so that should be coming through any second. Is that showing up? We can
Yeah,
see
we've
the
got your
dashboard.
dashboards. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, as Scott mentioned, obviously this kind of thing, we could usually do a sort of an hour-long deep dive. So, to fit it into 15 minutes for me might be a struggle because I could talk about it all day. But we're going to go through, I think, maybe sort of the two main areas then, to kind of keep it within time, which are mainly the dashboards and the reports catalog. So the dashboards, the idea with that section is that the data in there, you can have it updated in live and real time, meaning that you can get different things on your screen on the dashboard and just have it refreshing with the latest calls. So without having to refresh anything manually, you can have it up in the screen in a screen somewhere on your second monitor, and it's just going to run through by itself. Now, with the dashboard, so there's loads of different things we can get in terms of what data we want to see and different ways that we might want to display it. And that includes our own custom ones as well. So the first two in here, my dashboard and my wall board, these ones are entirely customizable. So you get to set them up from scratch, meaning that you don't have to see anything in there that's not useful. You just add in only the stuff that you want. And then all of that stuff that you add in, you get to customize it, choose, if you want to focus it on a certain call center, on a department, on a site, any of those kind of things. And we'll have a look at a couple of those in a second. But then what we also have is a lot of what we class as predefined dashboards where you don't really have to do any setup. You can basically just use them out of the box. So something like standard wall board is, the most standard one, just with your kind of bread and butter stats really. But you can just get it straight away without having to do any kind of configuration. You can just open the dashboard and it just starts giving you the kind of key stats immediately. But then there's ones like these under contact center productivity focused around the call center data too. So ACD wallboard is a really popular one when you do want to focus on a specific call center. So what it lets you do, first always choose which call center you want to see out of any of the call centers you have. And then it gives you that overall breakdown. So for that call center, I can get all of the key stats, including some of the live data as well. So things like, are there any calls in the queue right now? And if there are, then what's the longest waiting time out of any of those? So we can obviously monitor this live, for example, see when the queue is starting to get very long. And if that happens, we can try and shift some agents across and get that queue cleared off. But then also we just see how well the call center is performing generally in terms of just, are they actually answering the calls or not? How quickly are they answering them? How many customers are abandoning calls while they're still in the queue? How many calls are the agents actually missing where, it starts to ring and they just don't answer? And when it comes to the agents, we can get a breakdown for those at the bottom as well, where we can just get an up-to-date look at what every agent is doing. So that's not only the stats in terms of how many calls they're actually answering and receiving, but also, what are they doing at this moment in time? Are they on the phone right now? Are they available? Perhaps they're on Do Not Disturb, and you can basically monitor it through there. So as I'm saying, these couple we looked at so far are the predefined dashboards where you do, you just kind of open them up and they give you data straight away. But if it then goes to these custom ones, then we can actually start setting up our own stuff. So we've got my dashboard and my wall board, the two options, and they each allow you different things. So the first one, my dashboard, gives you this one highly customizable page where you get to pick and choose what data you want on here, and then everything you add, you can move it around, resize it, and basically do the whole layout yourself. And each of these can be filtered so they're focused on the certain areas that are most interesting. So I just want to show you a couple of examples of how we can add our own ones in here and actually create these. So for example, here I've got one looking at unreturned missed calls. Now that's just a very common one to have on this kind of dashboard as well, where we're not only looking at calls that have gone unanswered, we're also looking at whether or not the caller has received a call back from one of our agents. So these 41 unreturned calls, these are people that have called in, left us a missed call, and we've still not called them back. And we can actually you see here, I've got the detail of those at the bottom as well. So we can actually get those numbers, give them a ring. When you do that, because this page is constantly updating and it refreshes every few seconds, after that call is made, a few seconds later, those records will clear off of there. But these are ones that I've made before, and as I'm saying, I've created each of these, and now I can go ahead, and create more. So I've got unreturned missed. What I might want to do is just next to that, put the total missed calls as well, so I can compare those. And to do that, I can go to this button here, which is the tile creator. So that's where we can go to actually start creating these tiles and adding them in. And it basically runs me through this setup wizard where I get to choose what sort of data I'm looking for and what tile I want. So we can choose whether it's the kind of call center information, things like the live calls, calls in the queue, the agent statuses, those sorts of things based around the call center. Whereas general is just your kind of more regular things like incoming and outgoing and missed calls. And then the wall border tables, you get different options of the look and feel of it as well. So I'm going to go for a general wallboard tile, and then it lets me choose which KPI I want. So I'm going to take the total missed. And at this point, firstly, I can give it a name, but I can also then choose any filters I might want as well. So it might be that, rather than those predefined dashboards that, some of them would be looking just at the whole business, or they might look at a certain call center like the ACD wallboard does, but I might want to filter it a different way. And that's the whole point of, doing this custom one. So in this case, I could do it even just based on a select few extensions if I wanted to. I could base it on a certain department or a certain site, and those are being synced from the BroadSoft platform as well. So any sites or departments that exist there will automatically be available here. Or it could be that I want to focus on missed calls from a certain DDI or DID number. Could even have restrictions around the ring times. I could have it so that it only shows me missed calls when the caller waits at least a few seconds, just in case I don't want to count those ones that are any less. So you've got all these kind of filters where you can, as I say, sort of restrict it, even things like trading hours to get rid of out of hours missed calls. So there's all these different ways that you can focus it down to what's most relevant. And once you're happy with the filters, you just save it. And at that point, I can then go back to the dashboard, give it a refresh, and now my tiles should have total missed. And when I open that up, it then just gives me that KPI, and now I get to, just sort of shuffle it around and resize it and fit it in. And there we go. That's that. So that was one way that we create a tile, but there is actually one other way we can do it as well. So not only can we do it by clicking that create tile button, but if I jump for a moment to the reports catalog, you can also create tiles directly from the reports. So any report that you open up in the reports catalog, and this, as I mentioned earlier, is a section where we get the kind of detailed data and historic data and things. Any report we open up will always have this toolbar along the top. And the first option on that toolbar allows us to create a tile from there. So essentially, it allows you to choose which part of the report you want, and then you can add that onto your dashboard. So for example, I've got into hourly call activity, which is quite a popular one for this. But just the general idea of the report is to give you hourly trends. So I can see, the summary just with the total calls, but then the details will actually get a lot of detailed information about the hourly stats. So when are we getting more calls overall? But then when is that, what's the split per hour for outgoing calls, for missed calls, for the talk times, which hours do we actually spend more time on the phone? And then at the bottom, we've got this nice graph showing that visually as well. And that's the part that I actually want to take. So when I go to create a tile, then actually click that button, it lets me select any data that I want. So which part of the report do I want? In this case, I said I wanted the charts. So I can just take that and save it. And now that one has been created as well. Now the reports also have the filters available to restrict by departments and sites and all of that. So if I had applied any of those filters, that would also be saved on the tile as well. But now that one's done, I just do the same process again. I just have to give it a refresh and then open it up. And then I'm just going to fit it, hopefully nicely, in that gap. I think the zoom overlay is blocking me off a little bit, making it a bit tricky. There we go. And then once we're happy with it, we just literally, put it in full screen, and we could just leave that ticking away throughout the day. And as I said, it's just going to constantly refresh as the latest calls come through. But that was my dashboard, and I mentioned there's another one, which is my wallboard. And my wallboard is a little bit different in that you don't just have that one customizable page where you can highly customize and be very detailed with it. Instead, with my wallboard, you can have multiple things set up and have them rotating on the screen. So if I show you this one that I've created earlier, see the first thing we've got here is this nice wallboard where at the top we can see the the total stats, and those will be there at all times. And then the rest of these ones will rotate below it. So I've got a couple of ones looking at the live agent statuses, so I can see what they're up to at any time. but then I can have it going back to a main wallboard that actually shows me the stats for each of those departments, and I can compare them throughout the day. And this is going to constantly rotate. And as it does that, it just brings me the latest data every single time. So with this wallboard, you can kind of have multiple things created, multiple different wallboards set up, and they're just going to transition. And you've got all these different view types that you can create as well that allow you to get different things. So the wallboard was the one with the nice colors on there. The docking panel is the one that was along the top of the screen that you put your key stats in there. Agent activity you can add as well, so you can get a breakdown of what the agents have been up to. You can look at live calls. You can add in the URL. Group view is the one that we saw where we were getting the agent status. And then you can add in trend view as well, which gives you different kinds of hourly stats. So there's lots of different things we can add in. You can have 20 views in total. So you can have lots of different ones rotating, all including different information on there. So there's loads and loads that's available, especially if you utilize both of those dashboards and kind of go across both. But maybe just have a look at a few minutes more in the reports. So we just looked there at hourly call activity, which is just one report. But you see there's all these different folders. Every single one has different types of reports in there. Every report, of course, shows you different stuff as well. But just to highlight a few of the most popular ones, as well as a couple more of the things you can do with them. Just while we finish up the next few minutes. So we've got extension call activity. Now, this is arguably the most popular out of all the reports. And it's especially useful when you do restrict it in the filters down to a specific, with your specific team. So let's say I want to focus on my customer service team. So I can apply the filter for that. So I go department, customer service, apply. And that straight away just restricts it down just to those users. I could look historically as well. So rather than just today's data, maybe I can also look at last week and apply that. And that then just reloads with all of last week's data. And I get that overall breakdown of what they've been up to. Then we can look at the top here at these other options. And there's a lot of different things you can do with the report once you found one that you like. So of course you can create a tile from it, as we mentioned, which allows you to add it onto the dashboard. You can save it as a favorite, and that will put it in the favorite section here, where firstly, it just makes it a bit easier to access because you can just get all your main reports from that one place. But it also would remember these filters that we'd applied as well. So if you find yourself running the same report with the same filters quite often, then it's just going to, it's best just to save it to the favorites and you run it straight from there instead. And you can export it, so you can save it as a PDF or a CSV, and that will just download it straight away. You can email it out, or you can also schedule it. And it's with this schedule option where you can have things sent automatically. So what you'd have to do is create a task. So I could say, this is my weekly reports for customer service. I would put in my email address that I want to send it to, and then I choose when to send it. So this one I put for last week's data. So that probably makes most sense to send each Monday. So each Monday I can get the last week's information. I can send that sometime in the morning and on a weekly basis. And I give that a name, so extension call activity CS for customer service, and save that. And once that's saved, that report is now scheduled. And now once a week, I'm going to get that breakdown. But then I can go ahead and schedule more. So you can keep adding as many ones as you want and have them just all sent automatically to your inbox. So another one that can be quite useful is this one here, call response analysis. So this is based on the incoming calls. And again, we could look at a similar thing. So I could say last week for customer service and apply that. And that's going to give me, not only is it an hourly breakdown, but it also looks at whether those calls are answered and are they answered in target. So answered in target relates to something over in the configuration where you can actually specify a target answer time. In essence, how quickly should the calls be answered? And that will actually track that. So we'll see for each hour of the day, do we start to answer more in target or less? That's shown by grade of service. So this is actually what percentage of the calls are being answered in those times. So you see in the morning, it's generally 80% or above. And in the afternoon, it dwindled a little bit. So that's something we know now with this information, and we could take action on that if we need. And it's probably in a large part because we seem to be missing a lot of calls then. But now I've got this information, I can email that too. And the handy thing is that now I created that weekly reports for customer service, that task, I can just add this report straight onto it. and I don't have to fill out the email address and work out when to send it. All I do this time is save it and tag it on there. And that's basically that. And as I mentioned, this toolbar is on every single one of our reports. So anything a customer finds that they think is useful to have it emailed out, they can also even email it to managers that don't necessarily have access to the portal. So they don't need portal access to get those emails. As long as one of their colleagues can set something up for them, they've got that option. And yeah, they can do it with all of the data. So just to quickly run through what other types of reports there are, before we maybe head into some Q&A. We've got, so in the incoming performance as well, one's based around the missed calls, so we can actually get a bit more data on those, a bit more information, looking at exactly where the missed calls came from, how long are the customers ringing for before they're hanging up. DDI reports are looking at which, DID reports, if you were to put it in, obviously US English, and they would show you a breakdown on each DID, showing you which ones are getting more traffic, so you can work out where your traffic's coming from and are they being answered or not. Area reports are looking at where the calls are coming from. Customer reports are looking at the specific callers, so which specific callers give you the most traffic. Revenue and billing reports are sort of two separate parts. So the billing reports can be used to actually estimate billing. That's often used by things like serviced offices that might need to charge for the calls that are made on the phones. And then revenue reports can be useful for sales teams that would be making sales over the phone to get an estimate of how much revenue they've generated based on the calls they've made, but also how much revenue could be recovered through the unreturned missed calls as well. Then contact group reports, these are all mainly based around the call center functionality. Contact group summary is probably the most popular one there, and it gives you a breakdown of each of the different call centers, sort of similar to the dashboard we looked at earlier that was focused on the call center, except it gives you it for all the call centers within one report, so you can compare them in there and see how well each one is doing. Then agent activity looks at the agents within the call centers and how they're doing, which call centers are they answering more calls from, how long are they spending available each day. And then kind of moving on from that, availability focuses just on, when have they been available, when have they been unavailable, when have they been using do not disturb, and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, I know I've probably rushed through quite a lot of stuff there within a short amount of time, so hopefully I haven't kind of overloaded a little bit. But yeah, I think that's kind of the main crux of those couple of sections. And then the other things are stuff like the configuration and admin side, where you can go and make different changes and things that relate over to these dashboards and reports.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm wary of going over time, so I think I'll hand it back to Joe, if that's all right.
Yeah, that was very impressive to be able to cram that much information into a short amount of time.
Yeah, good job it's recorded.
Exactly. And clearly there's plenty more to to talk about in this iCall suite system as well. So with that, we're going to start to take some of those questions and answers. And my apologies, the chat function, it's not where we do it. It's the Q&A function where we would take some questions. I believe one's answered, but it did come out. Is this service just for call centers? I know there's a lot of benefit to call centers, but if some businesses don't have a call center.
Yeah, I think Marcus there also answered that, Joe. But yeah, absolutely, this is not just for call center. In fact, probably the majority of our customers is just standard call reporting. And the beauty of this product is once we provision the customers on the platform, we automatically learn all of those users. We then start collecting the data for all of those users and reporting on all of those users. But yeah, absolutely, it's not just for the call center.
Excellent. So if there's any other questions, please submit them to that Q&A section of the chat. And while we go through that, or while we wait for anybody that's interested in asking a question or reaching out, I also just wanted to show off this QR code for you to be able to scan. This will take you to our website and our iCall Suite Business Phone Analytics section of it. That'll allow you to register for a 30-day free trial and be able to actually put some of these dashboards into use and see what you guys think.
Yeah, just to add to that, really, Joe, is that obviously, you know, that's a free trial with you know, actual data. And if you want as well, we're happy to jump on as Tollring. We can get one of our guys to come on, and you know, after collecting the data for a couple of weeks, we could jump on and go through that data, help you with you know, understanding what that data showed, and maybe create some wallboards and dashboards, or help any of the guys that want to sort of interpret it.
Perfect. That's excellent. Thank you for that. And beyond that, really just wanted to thank everybody for coming. Thank you guys at Tollring. We really appreciate you guys joining us. For any of our other attendees, this QR code would take you to a one-on-one consultation with me to discuss any of your business needs, any of your telecommunications needs. So there's my contact information as well. But I want to thank everybody for joining, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys.